101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline. Always an honor to have Congressman Mike Johnson join us this morning. And thank you again, sir. We appreciate you.
Hey, Mike, thanks. Great to hear your voice.
Let me ask you, Mike, so many issues in front of you guys in Congress, but the issue in front of Americans today is our pocketbook. We just cannot. I mean, Mike, I bought generic tuna the other day, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it's getting crazy. I did town halls all last week when I was in the state before I had to come back to D.C., and I'm telling you, there are a lot of issues. There's a crisis on every front, but I'm telling you, this election this fall is going to be about what I call the three I's. I'd say it's inflation, immigration, and the incompetence that people see coming out of Washington. But inflation is by far the largest concern of everybody because it hits all of us, you know. And these latest figures, Aaron, it's shocking. In June, the consumer price index soared 9.1% for the last 12 months. That's the largest 12-month increase since 1981. You know, 57% of Americans blame the federal government for making their financial situation worse over the last 6 months. And they're right, because Joe Biden and the Democrats who run Congress continue to push their policies that are causing this. It is absolutely devastating for most hardworking families.
Now, the Biden administration is blaming the pandemic and the supply chain issues and the Russians.
And the Republicans now.
Yeah,
and gas station owners and you know, the lady down the street. I mean, it's ridiculous. Look, you can see the charts, and you know, you watch Fox News or any objective news source, Wall Street Journal, they'll show you inflation began to rise almost literally the day after Joe Biden took his oath of office, and it's been on this skyrocketing trajectory. I mean, it's going to cost Americans an extra $460 a month as of right now. It's about $5,500 a year for the average American. I mean, we're paying more for just about everything. You can't blame all these other factors. These are policies coming out of the White House. They could be reversed because they're policy choices, but they refuse to acknowledge that.
Mike, we were talking earlier this morning. There's a lot of talk in national coverage on the fact that Americans want Trump back again. Is that a realistic possibility from somebody who's inside? And what is the talk there? Do you think, A, he's going to run, and B, what are the odds of something like that happening again?
Listen, let me give you an objective analysis. I'll take my personal views out of it, okay? Because I think I've got a pretty good feel, at least for North Louisiana, because I was all over the district. I went, north and south, but over the last week. And, you know, you do a town hall, there are large gatherings. We have people from all different political persuasions. Just the appetite for change right now is universal, right? So, I mean, most people, I think if you polled anybody in town right now, they would tell you we have to do something different. For a lot of people, that means let's go back to Donald Trump because, wow, we were doing great under the Trump administration. And, you know, the reason was because he advanced orthodox conservative policies, right? Lower taxes, less regulation, you know, America first. That wasn't just a bumper sticker slogan. It was a philosophy that guided the policy that came out of the White House. And, of course, we had Republican majorities for those first 2 years of his administration, and we pushed that through in terms of legislation. That's why we had the greatest economy in the history of the world, guys, not just the U.S., of the world. February 2020, we had the greatest economic numbers ever recorded before the pandemic hit our shores. So people long for that. They pine for it because they know what it meant for their family, for them individually, for us collectively, our communities, our state, and they're desperate for change. I don't know. I think President Trump probably is planning to run. I think he probably is going to announce here in the next few weeks, is my guess. You know, we'll see what happens. We have a deep bench on the Republican side, you know, DeSantis and Pompeo, and there's many others. I mean, you know, there's lots of people who could and may run, so it'll be an interesting year for sure.
Who do the Democrats run? Everybody's today saying Joe won't run again. Who do they run?
They've got a real quandary, Aaron, because they don't have a deep bench like we do. I mean, really, I know most of the leaders of the Democrat Party. I've worked in close proximity to these folks, but none of them are ready for prime time, and they can't get over the finish line because their policies and the things they said in advance and what they believe in their heart is exactly the opposite of what the country needs right now. And people recognize that. And so they realize their policies are losers at the ballot. They're in real trouble, and that's why you see all the turmoil there. They're having a civil war inside their conference right now to try to figure out, are we just going to go full-fledged European socialist style, as the platform of the party? Or are we going to allow the 2 or 3 moderates that are left here try to drive us back to the center? I think the moderates are in a small minority, and so it means they're in big trouble nationally.
Yeah, you talk about full left European socialists. That brought to mind Gavin Newsom, and I've heard his name come up.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well be a communist. I mean, it's a joke. I wish they would run Gavin Newsom. I mean, come on, bring it. This guy's got a record so long. Look, they don't have a viable candidate, and they have a real problem because Joe Biden's too old and feeble to do it again. Even they say that themselves. They're saying the quiet part out loud. I don't think his family will allow him to do it. It's too painful to watch. And Kamala she polls just higher than, cancer on the favorability scale because she's terrible. She's just terrible. These are objective facts. Everybody knows it. So what do? Do they sidestep the vice president? That creates a bit of a crisis, I think, inside the party. And then you go farming. Where's the farm club among Democrat governors? All of them. Their states have high crime rates, terrible economies. I mean, every objective measure, Democrat governors and Democrats who run the largest cities have had abysmal records. People can see it. We have an informed electorate. They're tired of this stuff, and they want to make America the great country that we should be again. I think we're going to have that opportunity, big red wave in November. We're going to win back Congress. I'm convinced we're certainly going to win the House. I hope and believe we're going to win the Senate. And then that presidential election is going to be a big one for the country.
The abortion fight. We're going back to the court in Baton Rouge. In the meantime, abortions are being performed today here in Shreveport. When will this fight finally be over?
Boy, I hope soon. And those people that are performing those abortions, they have been put on notice. There may be real legal ramifications for that. But I'm telling you, the Supreme Court did exactly what they should have done. They returned the decision to the people in each state, and we've talked about it many times. Our state has already made that decision. The law is crystal clear. And for the abortion lobby to try to go into court and argue with a straight face that they don't understand it, that's their argument in the case, Aaron. Oh, that's too obscure. We don't know what the trigger law means. We don't know what the law means when it says we will not have abortions in Louisiana. I mean, it's a joke. The same people who are making an argument in court were at the legislature lobbying against the bill in detail, its provisions, in 2006 when we passed it. They argued against this in 2020 when we passed the Love Life Amendment to the state constitution. They were the same forces were at the legislature this year when our state house and state senate passed more pro-life legislation. They know exactly what it is, but they file these pleadings and pretend like they don't understand it. It is a legal fiction. It is a joke. I think it's dishonorable, and it violates directly the will of the people of this state expressed over and over and over. And I think they're going to lose. I just hope it happens the next few days and it doesn't take months.
But the basis of their argument is illegitimate, in my opinion. I don't think, in my opinion, it's illegitimate when they claim they're being denied their constitutional right to have an abortion. It isn't a constitutional right.
Right. I had Democrats here in a hearing in Judiciary yesterday. You'll see the viral video, I'm sure, because they're making the same claim. It's absurd. The Supreme Court said clearly what has always been the case, and we knew it back in January of 1973 when Roe was handed down. Even the lions of the left recognized that it was an extra constitutional decision, meaning they invented the right out of thin air. The Constitution says obviously nothing about abortion. That is not in its text, in its framework, in its structure, its meaning. We finally corrected that legal fiction that went almost 50 years, and now they're still using the talking point because they don't know what else are they going to argue. I had them in a hearing yesterday. If you go to my social media, Rep. Mike Johnson, you can see the videos. I said, look, at the bottom line, we can have policy skirmishes. We can debate the all around the edges of this thing, but here's the deal. Is the child in the womb actually a child? Is that a human being? Because if it is, and the medical technology affirms what the Bible's always told us, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are a child, God knows you, your life begins at conception, He knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. That child has inestimable dignity and value. We just celebrated on July 4th the bold declaration of our nation and our birth certificate, the Declaration of Independence, that We recognize that we're made by God and we are given inalienable rights. The first right is the right to life. A just government and a just people defend innocent life. Period. That's it. The Democrats refuse to acknowledge that that's a child in the womb. They say blob of tissue, fetus, they use other terms. It's a child. And if it is, we have a moral obligation to fix this mess. Court's done it. We have to do it now.
You have a bill regarding children in the womb. Can you hang on and let's talk about it?
Sure.
You bet.
Congressman Mike Johnson on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline with Mike and McCarty, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Mike and McCarty on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline. Congressman Mike Johnson joins us.
Mike, you've got another bill that you have a co-sponsor that would authorize child support payments from the man at conception. Is that accurate, or is it? Explain what your bill does. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a bicameral piece of legislation. We've got a whole bunch of co-sponsors. We introduced it in the Senate and the House simultaneously. Senator Kevin Kramer of North Dakota introduced it on the Senate side. It's called the Unborn Child Support Act, and it does exactly that, Aaron. It gives mothers the ability to receive child support payments while they are pregnant. So, look, life begins at conception, and we have the Supreme Court that allows the states to acknowledge the obvious truth again. So this bill is a straightforward first step towards updating our federal laws to reflect that. I mean, here's the deal. We know fathers have obligations, right, financial and otherwise, during pregnancy. And mothers should be able to access child support payments as soon as she is supporting a child, and this bill makes that possible. It's pretty logical.
But how do you prove who that father is? Will you be able to do the DNA testing that early? How does that work?
Yeah, you can. Now, here's the important thing. This is all within the 100% within the discretion of the mom, right? So, but it allows a court, in consultation with the mother, to award child support payments if she wants to do that. And by the way, it would apply retroactively, as you said, up to the point of conception, as that's determined by a physician. So it gives flexibility for the mothers. If they want to do this, they can. If not, they could pass on it, of course. If they don't want involvement by the father, that's fine. It's her choice. But it requires the judge to consult with the mother on the payment plans. It gives mothers discretion as to whether or not child support payments should be awarded retroactively. She has all the decisions. But it only mandates paternity test if she wants to do that, and at the discretion of the mother, and it won't be conducted. Some paternity tests in rare cases might put the unborn child at risk, so it wouldn't be allowed in that scenario. But this gives a mother some assistance, and we all know, certainly in the later stages of pregnancy, there's a lot of need for that. And so we also believe, of course, that this will give an incentive for women to, carry the term and have their children, even if they don't want that child for whatever reason. We have adoption services, et cetera, but it protects the sanctity of life, and that's so very important.
I hear you saying when you discuss this, people need to be more responsible when they go out and decide they're going to have sex with other people, because you could be bringing a new human being in, and we have gotten so loose, and I say that in, figuratively and the other way, that sex is nothing to people anymore.
No, it's not. We've seen the moral slide in the country for decades, of course, and this is, what somebody said one time, what we tolerate in moderation, our children excuse in excess. That really is a profound statement, and it's certainly true. We know by human experience. So yes, we have this very lax moral standard in society, and so it leads to a lot of this chaos. Look, we have freedom in this country. We're the most freest nation in the history of the world, but freedom has to be exercised with responsibility. And the more that we can talk about that, the more that we can teach it to young people, the more that we can express it, these logical truths in our laws, I think the better. And so this is a no-brainer. I hope that we have some Democrat colleagues who will come along with us on this, because we all have the same concern about young mothers, and everybody talks about it here all the time. Well, here's a simple piece of legislation that can help out.
Mike, a minute ago you mentioned winning back Congress. I've had people ask me, what can we do? I mean, to stop this Biden train that's just flying off the tracks. And I said, well, midterms are coming. Is that going to make a huge difference? Are we going to be able to slow down a lot of this liberal policy that's being effected now?
Yeah, because, and it's not even liberal policy anymore. It truly is full socialism now. I mean, it's just madness on Capitol Hill every day. And the reason is because right now, as everybody remembers from civics class, the phrase unified government, that's what we have right now. Of course, you have the same party in charge of the White House and both houses of Congress. And so whatever the president can dream up, well, let me correct that, not him. He doesn't dream hardly anything anymore. Whatever his handlers decide, these radical far-left interest groups. Yeah, right, exactly. Whatever they can push or conceive of and put on, in the White House comes out of there. He has willing accomplices in the Congress, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and their minions, and they push it, right? So the election is the way, and the genius of the founders, when they set up the Constitution and our system of government, they allowed a check on that every couple of years. Every 2 years, the House has to be on the ballot again, and the people get to make a sea change. It's the beauty of our system. We're going to have that. So you'll have, I believe, the legislative branch will revert and come back to the Republicans. That means we'll be able to stop the White House's agenda in its tracks. We'll send tons of great legislation to fix all these problems immediately to the president's desk, and we'll dare him to veto it. Here's the big question, Mike and Aaron. Listen, we don't know how Joe Biden's going to react. If he does what Bill Clinton did in the mid-'90s, when Newt Gingrich and the guys took over the Republican majority of the House again for the first time in 40 years, they did the contract with America and all that. Everybody remembers that. Bill Clinton didn't see the light immediately, but he felt the heat, and he moderated his positions. And so they got some things done for the country. They did welfare reform. They got the country back on track. They checked the boxes on the contract with America. Joe Biden will have the same opportunity. I mean, it's not going to be a red wave. It's going to be a red tsunami.
Yeah, but I don't see the left backing down at this point. I don't see them.
I'm afraid you're right. That is my expectation as well, and I pray that I am surprised. I pray that because the country needs it. This is not a game. This isn't about R's and D's, reds and blues. This is about saving the republic. I mean, it's difficult to overstate the crisis that we're in. We all know it. Mm-hmm. And so it's serious business, and I hope Joe Biden understands that. I hope he has enough tenacity, the guts, to do what must be done.
And I wish people understood.
And not take us wait 2 more years.
We are a republic. It's not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic, and people don't understand the difference.
Mike, I can't thank you enough. Please have a breakfast taco on me this morning.
I'll do it.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Mike. Always a pleasure. 101.7 FM.